Princetown. Minutes, so we've got some open here, folks, councilmen, so minutes from June 11th and the 13th. So my question is, do we have a motion to approve, unapprove, table? Did anybody read them?
I got notes on one, I hit them so sporadically that I can't remember if I've seen the 11th or not. There's one that I had an issue with and I won't. But I suggest we table it.
All right,
So
so
regroup and make sure.
it's not big business, but anyway, I'd like to.
It's not
So
so much
how-
not reading them, Mike, I haven't seen them. So,
They come out on email, so what I will ask is, I will ask that we get printed copies and at the agenda meeting, we can review them at the next meeting, we'll be able to approve. Good idea. That's why I'm the supervisor. Town board meeting approval, do I have a motion that the town board approves the video audio tape recording of the September 10th, 2013 town board meeting upon viewing the town supervisor and his delegate, and or his delegate?
I'll move. I'll second it.
All right, Ryan, okay for me to take the roll?
Huh?
Okay for me to take the roll?
That'd be great.
Okay. So Esposito,
Yes.
Jazinski, yes. Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Okay, new business. So we need to amend a couple of resolutions. First one is amend resolution 13-93, motion to retain counsel for the DHR sex discrimination complaint as it relates to Carol McLean. Do I have a motion that the town board amends the resolution from the town board retains Mike Cuevas to defend the Princetown Town Board in a complaint filed by Carol McLean, DHR case number 101-61518, for the amount not to exceed $1,500 to read as follows. The town board retains Michael Cuevas to defend the town board in a complaint filed by Carol McLean, DHR case 101-61518, for the amount not to exceed $1,612.50.
Why are we amending this? Did we already go over this?
Yeah, but we only authorized Mike to spend up to $1,500. The bill came in higher, so we gotta amend the resolution. Unless Mike's not gonna, wants to do it for free.
I think that's a good idea.
There's a motion for that.
I'll make it.
Mike did do it free?
I'll make the motion, Mike.
All right,
I'll second
all right, Mr. Esposito. Mr. Jazinski,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
it. Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Okay, amend resolution 13-74, motion retaining counsel for sex discrimination complaint as it relates to Michelle Van Wart. Do I have a motion that the town board amends the resolution from that the town board retains the firm of Romer, Wallens, Gold and O, LPP, Michael Cuevas, counsel to defend the Princetown Town Board in a Division of Human Rights complaint filed by Michelle Van Wart, DHR case number 101-60879, for the amount not to exceed $2,500, to read as follows. The town board retains the law firm of Romer, Wallens, Gold, Minot, Michael Cuevas, counsel to defend the Princetown Town Board in a Division of Human Rights complaint filed by Michelle Van Wart, DHR case 101-60879, for an amount not to exceed $2,558.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second
Mr. Esposito,
it. Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski,
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Amend Resolution 13-75, motion to retain counsel for sex discrimination complaint as it relates to Carol McLean. Do I have a motion? Princetown Town Board amends resolution from the town board retains the counsel of Romer, Wallens, Gold, Minot, Michael Clavis counsel to defend the Princetown Town Board and Division of Human Rights complaint filed by Carol McLean, DHR case 101-60589, for the amount not to exceed $2,500, to read as follows. The town board retains the law firm of Romer, Wallens, Gold, Minot, Michael Clavis counsel to defend the Princetown Town Board and Division of Human Rights complaint filed by Carol McLean, DHR case 101-60589, for the amount not to exceed $2,773.50. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Esposito.
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Oh. And Mr. Edwards absent. Okay. General funds claim for the lawful discrimination practice complaint as it relates to, oops. I need to tell you that, don't I? Yeah. This is 244. General fund claim 244 for the unlawful discrimination practice complaint as relates to Michelle Van Wart. This is the town of Princetown. Do I have a motion? Oops, that's scratched. Drzezinski. And that's zero. That town board approves the general fund claim 244.
Those are already in the general claims, right?
Yes. Yep.
But you're pulling them out.
Correct. For payment of the law firm of Romer, Wallens, Gold, Minot, for the services to date of Michael Clavis to defend the Princetown Town Board, the complaint filed Michelle Van Wart, case number 101-60879, for the amount of $1,591. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Okay. So a little typo there. General fund claim 243, unlawful discrimination practice complaint as it relates to Carol McLean versus Town of Princetown. Do I have a motion the town board approves general fund claim 243 for the payment to the law firm of Romer, Wallens, Gold, Minot, LBP, for services to date of Michael Clavis to defend the Princetown Town Board complaint filed by Carol McLean, case number 101-60589 and 101-61518, for the amount of $2,773.50. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. General fund claim 253 for unlawful discrimination practice complaint as it relates to Rebecca Sealy versus the town of Princetown. Town board approves the general fund claim 253 for payment to the law firm of Romer, Wallens, Gold, Minot, for services to date of Michael Clavis to defend the Princetown Town Board a complaint filed by Rebecca Sealy in the amount of $666.50. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. All right, so I'm going to skip over general funds claim. General fund transfer. Do I have a motion that town board approves the following transfers from account 35101 dog control professional service, an amount of 136 to fund 35104 dog control supplies, the reasons under budgeted. A transfer from the ZRC supplies of account number 80644, and the amount of $119 to the ZRC professional service, account number 80351, again, reasons under budgeted. And finally, a transfer from the contingency fund number 19904, an amount of $320 to the unemployment line of number 90508, reasons under budgeted.
So moved.
All right, thank you. Bob? Second?
I'll second.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Water fund claims. Can you see that, Paul? Do I have a motion that the town board approves claims 84 through 92 in the amount of $2,277.15?
So moved.
I'll second.
Bob first, Joe second. Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Joyce, yes, and Edwards is absent. Board fund transfers. The town board approves the following transfers in the award fund from the contingency account number 19904, in the amount of $4,663 to the water repair line of account number 83404, the reasons under budgeted. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second?
Second.
Lou?
Yeah.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes. Mr. Edwards is absent. Highway claims. Do I have a motion the town board approves the claim number 5? The amount of $417.88 for summer road maintenance for the month of July 2013. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Highway transfer, and then we got transfer of funds. Do I have a motion, the town board approves the transfer of $417.88 from account number 99019 to account number 5031 for summer road maintenance for the month of July 2013?
So moved.
I'll second.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. I've got to do a little math, so I'll come back to the general fund. two final pieces of items, then we'll come back to the general fund claims. Protection of the town seal. I think, Lou, you looked at it, I did read it. So, anyway, so it's getting late. So, folks, we're all open to, open and honest dialogue or not, you know, opinionated is fine. But each town has its corporate seal, like each town has its, or each business has its, you know, copyrights. And each town has a corporate seal, which is, you know, again, it's copyrighted. So any unapproved use of that seal is, you know, just like a, you know, unapproved use of a copyright is, you know, basically not allowed. There is a website in town that is using our town seal. It's not an approved website, so we're gonna ask basically the town clerk to, as custodian of the town seal, as per, where'd the book go? As per the town clerk manual for 2013,
From the association.
from the Association of Towns, which is, this is the Bible, pretty much, of town clerks. And there's also the same volume that the town board uses. There's an Association of Towns, town board manual. And pretty much in chapter 2, it opens up with town corporate seal. So again, it's the opinion of the town board that, again, we're open to honest discussion, but, you know, don't put up our town seal on an unapproved website or use it unapproved. So do I have a motion?
Wait a second, Mike. What happens if it continues to stay up?
I don't really know the answer to that, but.
You could file with the web hosting entity, and then they should contact the entity that has a website and direct them to take it down.
We have to do that.
Well, if the people are not going to do it voluntarily.
So I guess what we're asking is the town clerk to contact the owners of TOPNY and say you need to take our town seal off it.
And if that doesn't happen, then we
Then you
react.
go to second step.
Fine.
All right, do I have a motion that the town board hereby directs the town clerk as custodian of the town seal, advise the owners of topny.org website that the use of the town seal is unauthorized and should be removed immediately, as such use can cause website visitors to assume that the site is officially sanctioned by the town, which it's not. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
Mr. Esposito,
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski.
Yes.
Mr. Myers,
Yes.
Mr. Joyce, yes, and Mr. Edwards, absent. Letter of concern to McLean Foods. So I am actually, in all fairness to everybody involved, I would like to hear, I guess, what the final thoughts are of the town, or the planning board. Again, some additional feedback, you know, as we are waiting for additional feedback from the citizens regarding, from the residents regarding the comprehensive plan. So I would, you know, my thought here is, you know, in agreement with the Mr. Brick, that maybe we table this now, or
What does our attorney have to say?
Well, you can certainly decide to table it. These planning board's proceedings are still ongoing on this application. So there may be more information that will come to the board and to those people that attend the future planning board meetings. And to the extent that anybody, that the applicant hasn't had a full opportunity to respond to all of the public comments, we could wait their full response and decide then whether you want to submit this letter.
that if it's not McLean's Distribution that may lease the facility, why are we calling it the McLean's Distribution Center? I mean, everybody in the town, and the planning board is under the impression that it's for McLean's. Now we're told that it's not, that it may not be.
Well, I think the correct statement was that the prior permit was approved generically, because there was no guarantee that McLean was going to occupy the site. There still is no guarantee that they would do it, but it's just everyone has assumed that that's the one entity for which this facility was designed, and if it's not them, it's not likely to happen. But again, it's not, McLean is not the applicant. Because everybody's come into the habit of calling it McLean Food Distribution Center, because they're the only ones
So
that
we
we
should
know
call
of.
it the unknown distribution center.
Right, maybe that's.
It's like the unknown comment.
Well, I think my opinion on this, Mike, that you asked, is there's so much we don't know. There's so much information to evaluate, both from traffic point of view. I mean, the June and the August traffic reports, I looked at them briefly. I mean, there's 60 pages in the first one and 56 pages in the second one. And to read through that and make sense out of it, it's just gonna take some time to do that. Maybe it'll turn out to, affect my opinion. So, and tabling it might be a judicious thing to do.
And I think that's, I know we heard negative comments tonight, but in case there is positive comments, then I think we should afford the public the right to come in and, again, make comments at the planning board or, contact any of us and make their thoughts known, so. So if it's okay, then I will, I'm okay to table it.
I'm good with that. Alright, so bear with me, I just got to do a little bit more math here. That's fair. Okay. So, I'm not sure if, I do want to question voucher number 259. I'm not sure if Michelle's still up front or not, but I guess Ronnie, maybe you can help me. So I don't understand this voucher. It says we're paid in error by town account of $45 on 8/16. Balance of $7 requested. I don't
I don't
understand.
know, I was under the impression that she had already got part of that. And it was $7 owed, so
Well,
I don't know the details of that.
Alright,
She's
so,
asking for less than what she normally gets, so.
okay, so, I mean, even the receipt there doesn't even tell me,
Doesn't make any sense.
well, there's not even a company here. It doesn't say Mike's Barber Shop, it doesn't say anything on here. There's nothing
It's
here.
her monthly cell phone bill. And I think she gets $51, and she said she already got 45 of it.
So, I
So
guess,
she's asking for the remaining amount. Or 52 or something.
so I guess I'm concerned about the part paid in error by the town. I don't think we made any errors, but you know, people submit vouchers, we take them at their word and we pay it. Don't think we made any errors. So I guess, I don't know, what's the board think?
I think we should question them about paying it, because we don't know what it's for.
That's right.
Well, I think Ronnie said, I guess my concern is that, you know, again, there's like a, we paid something in error, we didn't pay
No,
anything.
she said there was an overpayment, and part of the month was already paid. So there's $7 still owed to her. I don't know the details, I just know that she's asking for less than she normally gets every month. Not saying anyone made a mistake, saying that.
Is this check being made to, do you know, it's going directly to her now? I guess not AT&T?
I mean, if that's what she put it through for. I mean, typically that's the way most people do it, but I think in the past, she's always done it to AT&T.
Yeah, we're not going there anymore, I don't think. It's $7, but thoughts?
That kind of paperwork is, you can't substantiate anything. There's no names, there's no, resubmit it. So it makes sense. And
All right.
it's for $7, I mean, geez, it's great.
Just subtract $7.
Yeah, did I came up with this? And just for the residents of town, we're not trying to pick on anything, but there was an incident with our general fund account. There was, and I'll just leave it at that, there was an incident with our general fund account at the bank, and it's board's diligence, because obviously statements that we do is an error, you know, it's our job, not only the town board, but myself as the chief financial officer, to understand exactly what we're paying for and exactly what errors were made, so it doesn't happen again. I'm not sure if everybody remembers a couple of years ago what happened in Dwaynesburg. Dwaynesburg, who was in somebody wasn't watching in the door, and you know, $500,000 was taken out of the Dwaynesburg school system. So, you know, I'm just saying, there was an incident on our general fund account, and, you know, we need to watch what we're doing. So, again, I need to be, it's $7 is, you know, I don't wanna say it's irrelevant, but it's just a matter of, you know, we have policies in place to safeguard against incidents happening. And an incident happened, we haven't finished reviewing it yet, but the incident did happen. And so for that, you know, if this squares out, then I'll ask the board in 2 weeks to, if everything's good to go, then we'll, you know, if we got a good explanation, we'll pay it then. It's, you know, not a big deal, but if it's necessary, I'll pay cash. But, so. Okay, so the motion's gonna be general fund, the town, do I have a motion, the town board approves claims 242, 245 through 252, 254 through 258, and then 260 through 263, in the amount of $21,527.17. Do I have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
And just to reiterate, so we passed on previous resolutions, voucher numbers 243, 244, and 253. So really the only one we're deleting here is 259. Okay, so I had a motion from, sorry? Who made the motion? Joe? Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Esposito?
Yes.
Mr. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Mr. Myers?
Yes.
And myself is yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. And I think that brings us to the conclusion of tonight's, nope, actually, okay. Sorry, folks, we do have one more piece before we go to final comments. As Pat had previously, at the initial privilege of the floor, made reference to the Rotterdam seeker. So to actively participate in the, even though the Rotterdam was the lead agency, is over and be involved in the input to it, we do need to put together a motion here. So do I have a motion to respond to the Rotterdam seeker notice? It is hereby resolved that the town board authorizes the supervisor to respond to the seeker lead agency notice of a request for comments of the town of Rotterdam with respect to the application of the Layden properties and, is that Marcy? Marie Ivanello for the property at 330 Becker Drive and Route 7 to inform Rotterdam of our desire to be a participating agency and to submit appropriate comments on the enclosed environmental assessment form. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'd like to make a comment, Mike, if I can.
Yep.
This letter was dated the 15th of August. I didn't see it in my mailbox till the 9th of September. Yesterday. Got it. And you have until the 15th of September to respond. And that's not right. So, I don't know what the holdup was, but anyway.
Okay. Mr. Esposito,
Yes.
Mr. Drzezinski.
Yes.
Mr. Myers.
Yes.
Bob, hang in there, we're getting there. Myself, yes, and Mr. Edwards is absent. Okay.
Mike, I think comments are due on that this week. I think the public hearing is this week. It might say on there, Thursday, tomorrow.
Today's Tuesday.
So we need to get comments by tomorrow.
Okay.
And, you know, this is why we need to get stuff on time.
Yeah, so, yeah, I can appreciate that.
I can maybe work with Mike to put something together
Okay,
for you guys to,
Typical.
you know, however you want to do it, but
okay, that'd be great. And then, yeah, and circulate it, and, get in touch with, you know, the board and
okay.
take it from there. Okay, thank you, Pat. At this point, I think we're done with our business for the evening. We'll open up the public comment again, and then we'll close up with councilman concerns.
Mike Benson, 3040 Gifford Church Road. Just a couple comments on the frozen food plant. distribution center. I generally consider myself pro-development, especially the past 5 or 6 years with the economy, because of the jobs that can come out of a project like that. But I just don't see anything in it, anything positive for the town of Princetown personally. And I'll admit I have family and friends that live in El Dorado Acres next door. It's probably one of the nicest developments in Rotterdam. I think the average tax bill in that neighborhood is around 10 grand, if not more. I just think that the location for that use is not appropriate at all. First and foremost, because of the residents that have been there for 20 years, that would be right next to it. The gentleman that was representing the project earlier left. It defies logic to sit there and say that 190 employees plus 50 trucks in and out daily would not have an impact on traffic, which is, it's not, I don't think it's horrible today, relatively speaking, but it's not good. And to add that to it in this location just doesn't make any sense. I don't really see what the benefit to the town would be. There are plenty of open spaces, open roads on the exits west on 88 and 90 from here that could take a project like this and have it blend in without issue, in my opinion. So I hope that you, the planning board, and the comprehensive planning committee will do whatever you can do to preclude it from happening.
Thanks, Joe.
Additional comments? Okay. With no additional comments, we'll close the privileges of the floor. Open it up for brief. Councilman concerns? Huh? Well, typically we start with Councilman Myers.
I just would like to again reiterate what I said last meeting, and we're seeing it becoming more and more. When we make these proposals and these motions and they're not being followed, you know, it kind of disturbs me because we're up here wasting our time if they're not going to see them enforced or followed. And I don't see that we are doing anything that extravagant or that difficult of a motion or a proposal that our town officials, our town staff cannot follow. And, you know, as a councilman, if it's that difficult of a proposal or a motion, I wish then our staff would come and talk to us or talk to me. Because, you know, we try to reason these things out and think about these things and so forth. And, you know, when we make these decisions, they should be followed. And it disturbs me that they're not being followed. And so I don't know what the follow-up is on it, but if everybody's just going to do their own thing, then there's little or no use for us to be here even making motions and proposals to run the town. So it is a concern of mine, so I just wanted to reiterate it.
It's some spectacular insight, Bob. I've talked to Mike on the side, and I guess we can all talk to Mike. I'm not even sure if there's anything we can do. It is, but I don't know.
And I don't mean it disrespectful or pointing fingers, it's just, this is the operation of the town, this is what our obligations are, and I personally feel we are doing the right thing by making these proposals and making motions for our town to run properly and smoothly. And, you know, when people don't want to work with us, you know, it makes things difficult for everybody. And it is very disturbing. So I just wanted to go on record again expressing my concern. Thank you.
So, and I agree with you again, because the avenue for change is elections and legislative process. Not just do what we want, but, okay, thank you, Bob. Mr. Jazinski?
A short statement. Earlier tonight, I heard Todd Edwards say that he was finally persuaded to run for town board, to be an example to his children. Then I only hope that his children are not paying attention to his behavior as an elected official this year.
They
He's been
sure are.
absent from this board
And yours
since
also.
19, since, that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Mr. Edwards?
Mr. Rizzuto.
I'm sorry. Mr. Esposito? Blue?
Yes, I received a couple calls about this letter that was circulated around from our councilman side by Councilman Todd Edwards. It says, town tax approved. Current town board members approved the single largest recurring service expense in the history of our town that will result in a new town tax. I have no idea what he's talking about. We did not vote for a town tax. If he's talking about the 9/11 fee that was imposed upon the town, and he was here, he voted for that too. And we had no choice because they were not gonna provide 9/11 service for us. Now, I don't understand how anybody could come out with a statement like that. Then it says property values reduced and hundreds of millions of dollars were lost to our community by the planning board chairperson? What is he talking about here? I see property values have been lost or reduced. I haven't seen property values in the town of Princetown. If anything, they've been escalating. Property values have been going up in the town of Princetown. Everybody wants to move out here. So I don't understand how we could put a letter like this together. And then the rest of it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Gender discrimination charges? Who made the gender discrimination charges against the town board? It wasn't the town board. To me, this is a blatant lie for political reasons, and he should be ashamed of himself for writing a letter like this. And he also should be ashamed of himself for not attending town board meetings and taking the pay. That's all I've got to say, Mike.
All right, thanks, Lou. I do want to make a note here that we just want to be careful about, and this goes to all accounts, about coming up and talking to people on the side. It's fine, but, you know, we are a board, everything should be up front. If the staff or residents have concerns, then they should come to the board. You just want to be careful about sidebars. I'm not sure they're, I understand the theory, I really do. I just want to make sure that, you know, if we're all up and up in front, then we should all hear the same message.
What do you mean by a sidebar?
Sidebars, you know, if people are off talking to the side. We're a town board, we should be a town board. Everybody should approach the town, the board. If they got complaints, concerns, issues, they should approach the town, the board, all as a whole.
Oh, not individual council members.
Right, I mean,
Oh.
I'm not saying you can't go talk to people, but you know, you just want to be careful, so.
Yeah.
And I didn't mean anything.
I know you didn't.
I meant that come to us, you know, so that if they find it too difficult to comply with.
Yeah, I agree with you, Bob. You know, I know your heart was, so I'm cool.
Is the floor still open or no? For comments or no? I gotta respond to that. Anyone in town should feel completely comfortable talking to any one of you about anything that they want to talk about at any time. And it's up to you to bring it to the rest of the board.
Right.
Because not everyone's gonna come here in this atmosphere and say anything. So I don't know, if you and I may be disagreeing or maybe not understanding each other, but if I wanna call Bob and talk to Bob as a citizen about a concern, and he's a boardsman that maybe I voted for, I should be able to do that. And it's up to Bob to bring it to the rest of you guys.
As long as it comes back to the board, if it's a town issue.
To
it
say
should be.
to say that the citizen can only talk to the board, I don't agree with that at all.
Well,
Something's wrong with that.
Right, I think I tried to say is, you know, as a general rule, I mean, obviously,
Well, people don't wanna come here necessarily. I mean, there's hundreds of people, it's the same handful that show up every month. So the more communication you can get, any way you can get it, please embrace it and then share it in public forum, just like Lou just did, I guess, or whoever just did. That's my opinion.
thanks, Vic.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap up fairly quickly here. So, court security, I'll put it back on the table here. Yeah, so a little background here. So our contract with the county was for one person. So we understood that the, you know, the two came in by some process somewhere. From the get-go, like month 2 into our term here, our administration, Joe and I went down to see Sheriff D'Agostino and said, these costs are astronomical for this town. We are being charged time and a half for both sheriff deputies to be here by the county. But the deputies are only getting paid straight time. So right off the bat, it's like, there's something wrong there, but, you know, they have contract problems, I understand that, but it shouldn't be our problem. You know, I don't mind, you know, and I said this to Mike, to the attorney here, I said, so, you know, we need to, again, consistently and effectively continue to look at costs in the town. And to me, that was just, why are we paying time, you know, the deputies are getting paid straight time, we're paying time and a half. Don't understand it. So I asked Mike, I said, and it's been on our objective here, and the court's objective, to reduce costs. So it should be on our, every day we should be thinking about reduced costs. So I asked Mike to contact the county again, saying, look, and this is the same message that me and Joe did, you know, over 14, 16 months ago when we met with the sheriff. If you charge us straight time, we'll be willing to, you know, sign an extended contract. You know, I think the issue is that he has man load problems, and because he has to juggle people around, he gets caught into an overtime position. What we offered last year was, sheriff, we'll sign a contract, just tell us you're gonna pay us straight time. Pretty fair. They get straight time, you charge us straight time, everything's square. And he goes, well, I can't do that. You know, and again, I'm not trying to be antagonistic or negative to Sheriff D'Agostino. He's a great guy. But, you know, he's got his business and we have our business. You know, ours is to watch costs in this town. So recently I asked Mike again, because again, we continue to look at it. We've looked at other avenues. We've looked around at other municipalities in the county, you know, Glenville, Rotterdam, Niskayuna, Dwaynesburg. They all have single coverage, and sometimes none. You know, if Rotterdam's got the police departments out, nobody covers the court. The same in Glenville. Nobody covers. You know, again, Dwaynesburg has one. We're the only town that was covering with 2. The only town in the county at time and a half. So I asked Mike to reach out again. Call the sheriff, call the county attorney, you know, let's talk. You know, why are we being charged time and a half? And they didn't want to move. And I said, well, you know, again, going back to looking at Rotterdam, Glenville, even the city court in Schenectady has one coverage. So Niskayuna, Rotterdam, Glenville, Dwaynesburg, everybody has one. One, if any, or, you know, some nights there's none. So to say that we're putting anybody at risk is a bit of a stretch. Matter of fact, it's a huge stretch. our traffic by tickets in this town has dropped dramatically, a huge drop. I mean, there's documentation that, I'll put it up at the budget time, that we've lost 50% of our ticket volume in this town, 50%. So, and let's assume that 70% of that is done electronically. There's not that much traffic in this building. Again, I'm gonna challenge and say, we didn't haphazardly think about this. The town board's been working on it for 14 or 16 months. We've tried to negotiate, and to no avail. So is there a little bit of a power play going on with the certain parties saying, hey, we're gonna pull people? Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, I really am. But there's nobody's gonna be at risk. They have a contract, this county has a contract through the end of the year. They have a contract. To say that nobody's gonna be here, well, I'll be down tomorrow night because I need to talk to somebody else anyway, but I'll be down tomorrow night. And if there's nobody there, my first call will be the sheriff saying, you have a contract, you need to fill it. He's a great guy, he's got his contract, he's got his, concerns, but, my concern, the town board's concern here is the financial stability of this town, period. Well, it's not period, but, without financial stability, you lose services, you go on and on and on. Again, we read about it every day in the paper. So, respectfully, I'm gonna have to seriously disagree with the justice. And if you go back through all the agendas and all the meeting minutes, you'll see it under justice. Reduce court costs by 50%. There are other options out there. I made the offers, we need to do something here. And nothing. So, again, do I want to do it? No, but my responsibility is to the residents of this town and to the financial stability of this town. And that's that.
Well said, Mike. Well said.
Thanks. So,
Well, Mike, just on that point of the contract, if there were a security question now, the question would be, why wasn't there when they entered into the contract that called for one security officer? Obviously, it was only a couple of years ago that they entered into the contract, and it provided for one court security officer.
supported by the sheriff, supported by the PBA.
Right. It was signed off by the sheriff, by the county, and by this town board. The other point is that there was no amendment to the contract. There was never a resolution by this town board that authorized an increase in the coverage under that contract. You agreed to pay for one person, and then someone else, on the own initiative, at least according to what the county attorney told me, decided that they wanted two persons in court, without coming back to the town board for approval, which is increasing your costs. There are different issues involved here, and that's what we had to make clear to the county, that it's the town board that entered into the contract. The town board would have to be the entity to amend the contract if it wanted to, but otherwise, if they don't want to amend the contract, we have to stick to the contract as written. And that's what we have, and I understand last week, last court session, there was one court security officer here. And despite, whatever, historical claims there may be, no one has reported a single violent incident happening in this courtroom on any occasion since that contract has been in place. And when prisoners are brought here, on the rare occasion that they are, that's a separate security detail that brings prisoners to the courtroom, so that there's always at least two additional corrections officers accompanying prisoners.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. So again, I want to, reiterate that we reached out, again, last year, Joe and I, and now Mike, and we continue to reach out, but fair is fair. You know, don't charge us time and a half for, you know, straight time work. You know, come talk to us, we're here to talk, but it's just not right. And it's a big expense, it's a huge expense to the town. It's 22,000 plus a year. You know, I know it doesn't sound like, you know, something out of Washington DC, but, you know, when you look at our budget and the justice, you know, lines, it's a big number. It's a big number.
You're paying for 3 people and getting 2.
And getting two.
And,
And yeah, that's enough.
yes,
Okay,
I'll make the motion.
to adjourn.
Second.
And Bob seconds, all in favor?